Hello, friends. We have been doing Elegy written in a country churchyard, written by Thomas Gray. Up to now, we have completed 8 stanzas of this poem. That is 32 lines we have done. And in those lines, we saw how the poet expresses his own feelings in respect and in regard of the poor farmers, poor people of the village who have been buried outside the church and where the poet is standing. The poet talks about their activity that they used to do when they were alive. He tells the passerbys, he tells the other rich people that they should not mock at their activities upon their wage of life. Because these people had led very simple life. They lived an ordinary life. They never showed any pomp and show. Therefore, the poet says that the ambitious people, that the proud people should not make fun of their livings that they lived. Now, in continuation of the same idea, the poet moves in stanza number 9. Let's see what he says. He says, the boast of heraldry, the pomp of power, and all that beauty, all that wealth overgave, awaits alike the inevitable hour. The path of glory lead but to the grave. So, in continuation of the previous thought, the poet is here in this stanza says that the boast of heraldry, that is, the proud of heraldry means here the Khandan. In Hindi we can say Khandan, or that is the aristocratic life, aristocratic families. So the proud of being an aristocratic families. Heraldry is the coat of arms associated with old. So the ancient family. So the people who are proud of their families, their ancient families. The pomp of power, and those people who makes show off their power. They show the meaningless ceremony. Pomp means also the proud. They feel proud when they do something, but in fact they are not doing anything. That is, they makes the ceremony in order to show the people that they are the important one. So here the poet says, those who makes show off, those who are proud of their ancient families, and all that beauty, and all that beautiful, all that is beautiful, that is the people who are proud of their beauty as well as, that is, beauty can be obtained from the wealth. So all that beauty, all that wealth ever gave. So the beauty which is given by the wealth. So proud of richness. proud of wealth. In fact, we should understand that those people who are in fact not beautiful by nature, but they become beautiful because of the wealth. So the wealth brings the happiness to the mind of the people, and wealth also makes them proud of. So here, beauty doesn't mean the physical or the internal beauty, but here beauty means the proud. So the people who have the wealth and property are proud. So here the poet is talking about three kinds of people. That is the one who is boast of his family's heraldry. The second, that is those who are in power and try to make their show off in order to feel themselves as important. And the third, that the beauty which can be obtained from wealth. So all these things, he says, awaits like the inevitable hour. All these things also waiting for the inevitable hour. Inevitable hour means the death. The hour which will definitely to come. And which hour? The hour of death. So these three kind of people are also waiting for that last hour, that is for the death. So death is inevitable to all. So here poet wants to convey the meaning that the rich people, that those people who belongs to the ancient families and are proud of that, and those who are very rich and wealthy people, but everyone has to face that inevitable hour, that death will come to everyone. This is he wants to convey here. Then he says in the last four lines, the paths of glory lead but to the grave. So the path of glory, all these things are the symbols of glory. They make the people glorious. But all these things takes all to the path of grave. To the grave. These all of those paths, all these paths lead only to the grave. So a person who is proud of his wealth, a person who is proud of his family, or a person who is proud of power, they all are also waiting for death, and death will also come to them. And all these glories of which they are proud of leads only to the grave. What means here? Only to the grave. That is, one day they will have also to die and sleep and lie in the same grave. So here we can say that it is death which levels all the distinctions of life. जिंदगी, जीवन की जितनी भी विभिन्नताएं हैं, अंतर हैं, भिन्नताएं हैं, उन सब का अंत, उन सब को बराबर कौन करता है? डेथ करती है. सो डेथ इज पावरफुल एंड एवरी वन is equal before death. Okay. Now the next stanza, stanza 10. Let's see what the poet wants to say in this stanza. Nor you, ye proud, impute to these the fault, if memory over their tomb no trophies rage, where through the long drawn aisle and fretted vault the pealing anthem swells the note of rage. In this stanza, therefore, the poet says, addressing to the proud people, ye proud means you proud people. So, you proud of your beauty, you proud of your wealth, you proud of your ancient family, you proud of other things. So, O proud people, nor you, ye proud, impute to these the fault. These the fault. You should not impute, you should not blame. You should not blame these poor people for these faults. For the faults. What was the fault? What was the fault? The fault was if memory over their tombs, no trophies raised. If no trophies, if no monuments, if no stones with inscriptions have been raised upon their tombs in order to keep them in memory. So in order to memory, these people, these people's monuments have not been raised. But it was, he means to say, but it was not their fault if this thing has not been done over their tombs. So, you proud people don't think so that it was their problem, it was their fault that they did not they did not make any monuments upon their tombs. Where through the long drawn aisle and fretted vault the pealing anthem. So, if the fancy monuments over their graves have not been erected, it was not their fault. If the trophies have not been erected upon their tombs, it was not their fault. We should understand proud people. Then he says that the because the dead guys in the churchyard are mostly poor farmers. So obviously their families would not be able to afford a fancy marble stone, fancy marble monument in the church itself. So the speaker shifts the blame onto the personified memory here. So memory here has been personified. So in order to keep the memory, so memory people, those people who remembers them, it was their fault. It was not the poor farmer's fault who died. In these last two lines of the stanza, the poet describes the church itself, the place where the monuments might be displayed. So, inside the church, the rich people, the ambitious people, the powerful people, kings, queens, noblemen, etc., have been buried, and therefore the monuments have been erected upon their tombs. The inscriptions have also been written in the church. And what else happening in the church? There is the bell in the church that peals, that is ringing in the praise of those lives who have been buried inside the church. So it is the bell which marks the passing of a member of the church, that is the rich people, and it is pealing, it is ringing in the praise of them or their life. All through the aisles of the church, through whole the church, and up to its high arched, that is the vaulted roof, ornamentally carved fretted ceiling, So the ceiling of the church has also been carved ornamentally. Beautiful church. And there the bell that is pealing in order to praise those who were buried inside the church. So here the poet compares the poor farmers who have been buried outside the church and no monuments have been erected for them. And he compares them with those people who have been buried inside the church and the monuments and the marble stones have been put up upon their tombs. And a soothing voice bell is also pealing song, that is it's a making a song of soothing to those dead people who have been buried inside the church. तो ये एक तरह से तुलना है कि धनवान लोगों को चर्च में दफनाया गया है और वहाँ पे उनके लिए एक मतलब मधुर जो है कि बैल बजती है जो कि उनके कानों को उनको थोड़ा सूद करे, उनको ठंडा करे, उनको जो है कि अच्छे गीत जो है कि सुनाए जाते हैं, जबकि जो गरीब लोग हैं वो उनको बाहर दफनाया गया है, उनके लिए कुछ नहीं किया गया. लेकिन द पोइट हियर वांट्स टू से that it was not the fault of those poor farmers, poor people, if such things have not been done for them. Clear? Okay. Now come with the stanza number 11, lines 41 to 44. Okay, let's see what the poet says. Can storied urn or animated bust back to its mansion call the fleeting breath? Can honor's voice provoke the silent dust, or flattery soothe the dull cold ear of death? In this stanza, the poet gives a pair of rhetorical questions, and rhetorical questions always have their answers on. Okay, so let's see. Can storied urn or animated bust? Storied urn is a vessel in which the remainings or the ashes of the departed persons are kept for the memory. Or animated bust. Animated bust means statue, life like statue. So the urn as well as the statue bust, these are put in order to keep the memory of the departed persons. We have the statues like Mahatma Gandhi, like Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose. We have so many statues. And we have also urns in which the ashes of those great men have been put. So why we do that? It is only so that we can keep them remember in our memory, in our lives, and the generations also know them. Generations also may know them. So here poet says ki can storied urn, can this urn in which the dead bodies ashes have been kept, or the lifelike statue back to its mansion call the fleeting breath? Can all these things call the fleeting breath, means the life, the breathing, to its mansion, to its dead body, the body which is dead now. So can the statues or the urn bring back the breathing into this dead body? That is, meaning is that can all these things make that person alive again? We all know. We all know that the answer is no, never. It can never happen. The statue made for the memory can never bring the person back to the life. He cannot become alive. Then another question, can owner's voice provoke? The voice, the words which are spoken in respect or in honor of the departed person or the dead people, provoke the silent dust. Can they provoke, can they fill the voice in that silent dust, the dust that is the dead body, which is silent, absolutely silent, no voice, no movement, nothing, no life. So can the owner's voice, can the respected words, can the words which are spoken in honor and respect bring back the man who is dead now back to life? Can that voice awake that dead person? That silent dust dead. Or flattery soothe the dull cold ear of death. Or the flattery means chaplacy, sycophancy. So the words of flattery can soothe, can make calm द डल कोल्ड ईयर, माने उसको आराम पहुंचा सकती है क्या फ्लेटरी जो है, चापलूसी, जो डल कोल्ड ईयर ऑफ डेथ हैं, मृत्यु के जो डल और ठंडे जो कान हैं उनमें क्या कुछ जो है कि सूदिंग माने जो अच्छा लगे ऐसा कर सकती है? नो. जैसे फ्लैटरी ऑलवेज सूद्स ऑल ऑफ अस. एनीवन हु flatters us, we are pleased of that. Everyone likes that. But here the poet says, can that flattery bring this man back to their life? Can this flattery also please the dead people, the cold ear of the death? So that is, he wants to say that whether a fancy urn that is a container to hold a dead person's remains, or a real life like bust that is a statue of a person, head, shoulder, in the case of commemorate to a dead person, could call the breath back to the dead person and make him breathe again? No, never. Except he doesn't say so quite that directly, he is a metaphor. So the dead person's body is a mention here, and the speaker personifies the urn as well as the bust, and then also the honor and flattery, because we have the capital letters that they begin with. So they cannot bring the dead person's breath back to the body of the departed person. So second rhetorical question, that is of the honor, again personification. Can it provoke the silent, dusty remains of a dead person to speak again? No, it cannot. Or whether flattery, that is another personification. So we have many personification in these poems, in this poem, in these stanzas. So can flattery make the cold ear of death? Death is again here personified. Feel better about being dead? So never. The answer to all these rhetorical questions is obviously no, of course, never, not. That is, the dead people who have now died can never come back to the life, whatever we may do, whatever the flattery, whatever the storied urn, whatever the dust statue, and the other owners' voices, nothing can bring them back to the life. So this is what we have the explanation of these lines. I hope you will enjoy, and next time we will meet with another lines, another stanza of this poem. Till then, thank you very much. Bye bye.